Music, this weird organization, was looking for 2 community musician trainees. And I saw the ad and I was like, I love folk music. I love running workshops. I love working with people. I must have this job. So that was in 2001, if you can believe it. And that was when I first met Paul and Marilyn. And I have been linked to various degrees of intensity with Wren ever since. Now, when I'm not working for Wren, I perform my own songs in combination with Swedish folk music. I'm a singing teacher. I do one-to-ones with people, helping others to develop their voices. I work with groups. I have a little Swedish group in Exeter that's at the heart of some Swedish events that I do, like the Exeter Lucia procession on the 13th of December every year in Exeter, which was online this year. Worked surprisingly well, I'm going to say. And yeah, that's me really. Now, the song that I would like to bring to you is one that I keep coming back to. Jag vet en dejlig rosa. So this is a traditional Swedish one. It was first written down in the 1500s and 1600s, but it was first really collated and notated and brought to the public and published in 1907, I think it was, by Alice Tegnér. And it tickled me a bit when I saw that she did it, because she's a household name in Sweden, because she wrote the vast majority of the children's songs that are the equivalent of Ba Ba Black Sheep and the Wheels of the Bus. So all Swedes, with no fail, can sing you a number of her compositions, just like any English person should be able to sing you Ba Ba Black Sheep. But yes, it meant that it came into the Swedish public, and lots of Swedes, including myself, ended up feeling that we had a very personal relationship to this song because it invites to it. It's a song of love and of longing and of grief. And I'm just going to tell you the lyrics in English, and then I'm going to share it with you. So in English, this song says, I know a beautiful rose and as pale as the petals of a lily. And when I think of him, my heart rejoices. Its voice gives a comfort to the heart, like the tender voice of the nightingale, so noble and so sweet. As the sun shines in beauty, he is as clear as gold. May God never let you grieve, but ever be joyful. May those be allowed to get together in a great gladness of the heart, all those who long for each other. Every day the sun sets and daily it rises. When will the kind day come that I may behold you? You are ever on my mind. Farewell, farewell, my heart's beloved. 1,000 times good night. Jag vet en dejlig rosa och vit som liljans blad. När jag på honom tänker så görs mitt hjärta glad. Det stämmer ger en hjärtans tröst, lik nektargalens blida röst. Så hövisk och så ljus. I got a question there. I'm from Gothenburg. Så hövisk och så ljus. Som solen fagert skiner är han som purpurklar. Gud, låt dig aldrig sörja, men alltid vara glad. Må det få komma samman i hjärtans fröjd och gamman, som längtar till varann, som längtar till varann. Var dag går solen neder och dagar lik uppgår. När kommer dagen blider att jag dig skåda får? I hågen är du ställts mig när. Farväl, farväl min hjärtlig själ. mångt tusende god natt. Mångt tusende god natt. Thank you. And I think at this point, as opposed to in the middle of the song, sorry about that, I should be taking questions.
Well, thank you, Becca, for sharing that lovely song. Gorgeous. We've got a question from Hugh. Which part of Sweden are you from? He spent the summer there as a student working in, I'm going to say this wrong, Ekoping. Ekoping? Is that how you say it?
Enköping.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, that's a tricky one if you don't know the Swedish. Yeah, fair enough. So I was born in the city of Gothenburg. I grew up in a town fairly close to it called Lerum. My roots on the Swedish side of the family, because my father's American and my mother's Swedish, but my roots from that side of the family is Gothenburg, and also Dunse, which is an island on the Gothenburg archipelago, which when I first started planning to talk about myself, I got completely carried away about, because island has its own sort of tradition, musical traditions that are quite exciting. But reining myself in, that's for another conversation. Does that answer the question?
That does, yeah. Lovely. We've actually got a couple of questions in for Paulo as well.
Oh.
Paulo, can you tell us a bit more about your sound engineering? That's from Jane. And then another one from Hugh, and about stitching your song recordings together.
My sound engineering well, I'm going to switch to a different view because it's doing my sound engineering. I trained as a sound engineer when I first joined Wren officially. You might guess by my surname that I've been with Wren for quite a while. In the fact that my sitting room is where it all started from, back there. But when I first came to Wren officially, I've always loved playing around with sound equipment, recorders, and tape recorder. I used to have a old cassette recorder and buy C90s and mess around with them and stuff like that. And so I trained in a place called Deep Blue Sound in Plymouth, which is a beautiful studio down under the Arts Centre, where it used to be under the Arts Centre. They've gone massive now; they're huge. So I trained with them. I did a sitting guild in sound engineering with them, and specialising in live sound rather than recording sound. So just my history in sound is quite varied. I've done deaf thrash bands in the top of pubs to 7-piece bagpipe bands with a drummer. It's a very varied job when you get it right. It's great. And the stitching of the Cutty Wren together was my first real foray into the world of video editing. And it was a huge learning curve because it's completely different to audio. The way the programs work and everything's completely different. And it drove me at the wall for a long time. I got there in the end. I was pleased with the second version. The first version hadn't come out as well as I wanted it to, but the second version I was able to get things working better. And yeah, I was quite pleased with the end of that one.
Great, thanks, Paulo, and thanks again to Becca. Lovely
Thank
stuff.
you.
We're going to move on.
Emily. Sorry, John. I'm just going to have to do a quick interjection. If anyone's watching on YouTube and wondered who that man was that was just answering questions, we didn't actually broadcast the first few minutes of this onto YouTube successfully. There were gremlins in the system, or a wire broke or something. So I'm not going to redo my introduction now. I'm going to recap it at the end. Paulo was going to redo his bit, but now he's answered a couple of questions. He's probably got off the hook of starting it again from the beginning. So we can now resume normal programming, but I just wanted to let our viewers who might be viewing live at home know what was going on and why it just started without that introduction. So we did do it, you just didn't see it.
Great, thanks, Emily. We're now going to move over to Jenny, to my left. Go on, take it away.
Hi, can you hear me okay from over here? Cool. So I'm Jenny. I joined Wren about a year ago, just before lockdown happened. So I joined as a community musician, or a trainee community musician at that point. And I think I made it to about 3 orchestra meetings before lockdown happened. And just carried on being involved with the orchestras through the last year. Loving the chance to put together arrangements and teach and help help lovely folks to learn lovely tunes and play together in some kind of approximation of together as it is remotely, and looking forward to actually playing in the same room with people at some point in the not too distant future. Who am I? I guess, I mean, I've been playing music for many, many years. I grew up in London. My parents didn't play anything as such, but they were both folk dancers. So I was pretty much indoctrinated in the world of folk from as soon as I could walk. My mum was a Scottish country dancer, and she taught people to Scottish country dance until, oh goodness, she's 80 something now, and I think she stopped a few years ago. So she's been a lifelong Scottish dance teacher. And my dad was a square dance caller, singing patter-calls and very, very fast patter-calls. So I grew up in that environment, listening to folk music, with a bit of Stefan Grappelli as well on the side from my dad, and being taken to Sidmouth Festival every year from before I could walk. So yes, very much folk music's always been there in the background. I learnt to play the recorder at Sidmouth Festival. The story goes that I went to Sidmouth Festival. Do you remember anyone remember the orange books, the Join the Band book? I had a Join the Band book, and I joined the band, and I think I could play 3 notes on the recorder when I was about this big. And by the end of the week, and some very tolerant people later, I was able to play tunes on the recorder, which was great for me. Possibly not for the people near me. Yeah, and then I just carried on playing recorder, went on to the flute as well, and kind of reluctantly played the piano on the side, because I sort of wanted to be able to play it, but that was never quite my instrument of choice. When I was younger, in fact I used to spend most of my childhood defending the recorder as being a great instrument, because people would say, oh, so what do you play then, Jenny? And I'd say, I play the recorder, the flute and the piano. And I could pretty much guarantee that I would have responses along the lines of, ooh, flute's a nice instrument. Or, I play the recorder, I played at primary school, I can play row, row, row the boat, or whatever. So I used to spend my time being a firm advocate of recorder, and hey, it's a really fabulous instrument, and that's what I majored in. So that's my background. Recently, since coming to Exeter to study music, I've got more into the folk scene, the more playing for folk side of things. And playing for dancing particularly. So I am a dancer, percussive step dancer, and piano is actually a great way of playing rhythm with folk, with tunes. And I love, if I'm dancing, it's about giving that rhythmic drive, being the percussionist, and if I'm playing the piano, it's about giving that rhythmic drive. Not so great if I'm supposed to be playing you a solo, because all you'll get is this. Not so great. So I thought, instead of playing chinks at you, I thought I'd play a bit of an earworm of the week, which during lockdown I've been really fortunate in being able to visit some groups online. And one of the groups I visited I visited a couple of Singing for Wellness groups, one of them being Wren's group, and I visited another one elsewhere. And I heard this really pretty tune, thought, oh, I remember that from back along. You'll probably recognise it. It's a Welsh lullaby, it's called Suo Gan, I think it's from about the 1800s. It's just really pretty, and given the fact that actually I can play music with another human being in the same time frame, I'm going to make the most of it, and John and I are going to play Suo Gan, which is a Welsh lullaby. John. Pretty Little Welsh Lullaby I heard a few weeks back and thought, oh, that's nice. Yeah, so basically what I love to do is get other people playing music. That's the thing that I love most of all. It's about making that connection, helping other people to discover the musician within them. And when I'm in my own space, I like just fiddling around with tunes and improvising and having fun with it. So it's great to be able to do that today with another human being. Oh my god, it's great.
Oh, gorgeous. Thank you so much, Jenny. So we've only got one question so far. So if anyone else does have a question, do pop it in the chat. So the one question we had, you've almost, I feel like you almost answered, but when exactly did you start stepping? And that's from Peter Watson.
When did I start stepping? Well, as a child, I danced. So Scottish country dancing, barn dancing. I did ballet lessons and I tried tap dancing, and I didn't get on very well with tap dancing because there were so many people in the room that I couldn't hear the music, and it gave me a headache and I refused to go. So I slightly regret the fact that I didn't learn to tap dance, because I didn't then come to step dancing until I was at university, actually. So as a student, I'd seen, I don't know if anyone saw the team Broken Ankles. There used to be an amazing Appalachian dance team, and I saw them perform at Sidmouth Festival once and just went, oh my goodness, I need to do that. It's amazing. Really fast, percussive, and their legs did all sorts of weird waggly things and they looked like they had rubber knees. Thought, I need to do this. So I got into Appalachian stepping and studied with Ira Bernstein, if anyone's heard of him. Absolutely fantastic American stepper, phenomenal. And he used to travel over here and run intensive courses. So I did a lot of flat footing with him through sort of after university in my early 20s, and discovered that the whole thing of improvising with your feet and being the drummer. And then around that time, I also went to the Dartmoor Folk Festival, and that became kind of, I realised, oh my goodness, this is a fantastic local festival. Got really stuck into that, learnt how to step dance 1 year. Apparently they've always said that you can learn the stepping in the morning at a workshop, and then you can compete with those steps in the competition in the afternoon. So I thought, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, I shall have a go. So I did this, and then I won the competition. I went, oh goodness, I perhaps ought to learn a little bit more then. And then I carried on and discovered that actually it's a really exciting tradition, and that's been a kind of a passion alongside the music for the last quite a few years actually. It's Dartmoor step dancing there's a lot more to it than people have realised, and it's having a bit of a resurgence. So yes, I won't say any more about that because I'll take over the whole rest of the hour. But yeah, Dartmoor step dancing, probably early 20s I suppose, and I stuck with it.
Lovely. Well, unless there's any questions from the YouTube, which I don't think there is. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying hearing people's stories. So my name is Anna Ling, and I'm also a junior community musician at Wren, and joined at the same time as Jenny. So at the beginning of last year, which was an interesting time to start anything, I think. The blessing has been that, rather than what would have happened, which is, I guess, streamlining into doing the choir, maybe 1 or 2 choirs with Wren. We've really been able to witness each other teaching, and really, I feel like I've been able to get to know many more of the Wren community. So that's I feel like there's been a silver lining there for sure. However, I cannot wait to sing with you all again in glorious harmony, not just with my own glorious harmony. So quick foray through my life. Similar to the others, I did grow up in a house that kind of venerated folk somewhat. So my dad's Scottish, and he is a Scottish fiddle player. And my mum is a choir leader, which she started when I was sort of 8 or so. And she's set up something called the Natural Voice Network, which is an organization that has very similar way of going about music to Wren, in that it's for everyone. It's really making it like very, very accessible. And so in some ways, I guess, again, when I saw like Rebecka, when I saw the advert for Wren, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's folk and it's singing. this is wonderful. And I've been running choirs for maybe 10 years or so in the natural voice way of doing things. I studied at SOAS, which is the School of African and Oriental Studies, and I studied ethnomusicology, which I think it took me about 3 years to sort of know exactly what it was. So I saw a few furrowed brows when I said ethnomusicology there. And it's basically music of the world in context. So it's studying a culture through its music. And I found that it's such a wonderful way, you could kind of, you'd hear the information and the culture and the kind of politics and history of a culture, but all through people, singing and playing their, stories of it. And even if you didn't understand the language, it really made me feel like I could connect with those stories. So I'm also a singer-songwriter, and I've been doing that since my mid-teens or so. So I decided to bring you one of my own songs today. I was like, oh, should I do a cappella folk song? Or I know some, so I started, my main singing, or my kind of major at university was in Bulgarian. So I was like, should I do a Bulgarian singing? But it's, if you want to see me, I feel like this song or my own songs is going to help that most. And I chose a song that those of you, and I see a few of you here, is in doing the weekly choir program with Wren. We did a song called the Herring Song recently, and it's leaning towards that. It's a song that celebrates the liminal and the thing, that changes from one thing to another, and that kind of dwells within the place of liminality. So it's written about a couple of years ago. It's written in Portugal on the beach. This huge, expansive beach that you might be able to hear a little bit. I walk till I meet the sea. I was a bird before I was me. I was a bird, salty and free. The line, it is blurred between the sky and the sea. The line, it is blurred between the bird and me. The line, it is blurred between the bird and me. Where the sea meets the sky, where your opening hand reaches mine, will we entwine and be weathered by time, or witness our holy design? The untrimmable light we enshrine. I'll walk till my wings return, feel the heat from the sand on my feet gently burn. Hold me, my love, someday return and find I'm enough. Where the sea meets the sky, where your opening hand reaches mine, will we entwine and be weathered by time, or witness our holy design, the untrimmable light we enshrine. Walk till I meet the sea. I was a bird before I was me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Anna. Lovely stuff. Beautiful song. We've got a question here from Kerry Jones, saying that was lovely. Why did you choose to study Bulgarian singing?
Oh, I love the no holes barred energy of it. It's like, and most of my training was just in this little, with a woman called Desi, which some of you may know. She runs the London Bulgarian Choir in her little London flat, and she was just like, you know, she basically I just shout for an hour, you know, just because I think as often, you know, many of us us English folk, we kind of reel it in a little bit, and I think the Bulgarian is just such a good way of breaking through that. And in fact, spoiler alert, we're going to be doing a Bulgarian song this term. So yeah, and I used to I'd ride around London on my bike. I cycled everywhere when I lived in London, and it's the glottal shift where you kind of move between two notes. Was quite difficult to master, so I just do it on my bike, and it's perfect because you're very, you know, no one knows who you are in London, and you just kind of go by, and you're always going to go past people and go, ah! Yeah, lovely. Thanks for the question.
That's amazing. Excellent. I hope you do it around Devon as well on your bike.
Oh yeah. People know me. Yeah. Maybe they need it.
Great. Thank you, Anna. We're going to move on now to a video that Amy Wilson, who works for Wren, has prepared for us. Is that right, Paulo?
It is, yes, we are. I will try and get this going now.
Hello, and thanks for having me along to this Meet the Team session. My name's Amy, and I can't be with you in person. No one can be there in person. What do I mean? I can't be there on the day for this session. So I was asked to make a video. I wasn't sure what you'd need to know, so I've done myself a sort of pretend Q&A. Just got 5 questions to ask myself. So, Amy, what's your name? My name is Amy. And what's your job? My job at Wren Music is Development Officer. And what does that mean? That means that I'm involved in all of the different projects that Wren runs, from our regular groups where anybody can come along and join in, to our really targeted work in schools or in care homes or across Europe. All the different projects, I'm involved in them all. In 3 ways, really. The first is that I'm involved in fundraising, the second is that I'm involved in planning, and the third is that I'm involved in evaluating. So Amy, why do you like your job? I really love working as part of the team at Wren Music. I really like the way we all work together and get things done together. But it's got a nice mix where we all have autonomy over what we do, but we all lean on each other when things need to get done. And I really love the feeling of like a big finale or a culmination of a project where we just really feel like we've made something happen for people, and that's a really nice feeling. I also like it because it's quite creative, to be able to look at a problem. I'm not a musician, so I don't. It's not creative in that sense. But when we have a problem, like, oh, how are we going to know whether this project has had the impact on the participants that we wanted it to have, or how are we going to see that musicians are progressing through some sort of training scheme that we've put for them. So answering those kind of questions, I really, really love doing that kind of work. I've got a master's degree in social and cultural theory. I used to work for the National Foundation for Youth Music. So I've come through a kind of journey of kind of social analysis and working in the sector. So hopefully I'm well placed to do those bits of work. And the last question I want to ask myself is, what's exciting about the year ahead? And there's just two things I'd like to mention. The first is oh no, I've just thought of another one. There's three. The first is that I'm just really excited about getting back together and working in person again. It's been different moving online, but it's going to be great to be back in the same room, and I think within the next 12 months we'll hopefully get there. The other two, I'm really excited that the Her Story project, the Project for International Women's Day, we're going to be doing some recording this year to make a songbook to promote all the great new folk songs about women that we've written. And then I'm really excited about our project called All Together Now, which is being delivered with all special schools in Plymouth. And we're doing an evaluation as kind of a piece of research with the University of Plymouth Institute of Education. And we're hoping to transform the way music is delivered in those special schools to give non-specialist music teachers the confidence to bring music into every single lesson. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the year ahead. I don't know if I've said anything useful for what you need this for, but I hope you're having a great time with the rest of the team, and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks to Amy for preparing that one in advance. That was really, really nice to hear from her. And now we're going to hear from John and have all about him and some more tunes.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Amy. So hello, everyone. My name is John Dyer. I've been working for Wren now 8 years. I don't know, a long time. Where did it all start? So I started learning the flute first when I was about 6 or 7, and I went to a really fantastic primary school in Somerset. I was very lucky, and everyone got the chance to learn an instrument in the school. And the teacher read out a list of instruments, and you got to put your hand up for what instrument you wanted to learn. And no one put the hand up for the flute. So I thought, oh, the poor old flute. So I put my hand up. I didn't even know what a flute was at that time, but and it was fate. We found each other. So I put my hand up. I remember being stupidly excited over the summer holiday, waiting for September to come round to find out what this mysterious flute was. And yes, so yeah, that was back in when I was 7 or 8. And then that same sort of time, my mum's a great musician, and she was very encouraging in making us go to lots of music groups as well. And down in Buckland St Mary on the Blackdown Hills at the primary school there was a little after-school folk club run by Mary Lepley, and that was my first sort of experience of folk music and going along there and just learning these amazing tunes, all this history behind it, and being passed down. She was a fantastic teacher and taught me how to learn by ear and the history of music. So that's sort of my into folk music then, and that got me performing, got me out to lots of festivals and fetes and stuff. And alongside that, I was also doing a lot of my classical training on the flute. I did that and a bit of jazz training as well. And that sort of took me through secondary school. And I started making my own bands with Hannah Cumming, who you met last week, and we lived in the villages next door to each other, so we met up and her brother, and we made ceilidh bands, and we went around doing ceilidhs every weekend since I was about 12 till I'm still doing it every weekend now, and doing lots of ceilidhs, and it was great having a weekend job as a ceilidh musician instead of a paper boy, so that was quite nice as a teenager, doing that, going around, and that got me performing at festivals all around the UK as well, so that was wonderful. And then I went to university down at Falmouth University, which was the old Dartington degree that moved down there just the year I started, which was 2010. So that started that, and that was the music performance degree down there, and that was great opportunity they're very encouraging in just making you find the music you want to do instead of forcing you into a genre, which is lovely. So it wasn't saying you have to do classical degree or jazz degree, and it's very much like find your own voice, find your own music. So it's lovely to be able to find my way in folk music, but then also venture into some weird and some crazy Dartington stuff as well, which is great. A lot of experimental music and keeping me on my toes. So I did that, and then a part of that degree, they have a thing called practicing context, which is actually basically work experience. And you get to, I came and work for Wren Music for 3 months back in 2012, and that's when I've heard of Wren before that. I'm still in a band called Gadarene, which Matt Norman and Nick Wyke are in, and they said, "Oh, you should work for Wren Music." And I said, "Who are Wren Music?" And then it all worked out that I went and did my practice in context there. And yeah, and then after my 3 months, they said, "Oh, do you want a job?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, yeah." And we managed to get some money together, and I did a trainee year after I graduated, and that was also funded by the EFDUS Full English project. I was a part of a trainee for that as well, when that all came about in 2013. So I was doing work for EFDUS and for Wren at the same time, and then the rest is history. So for Wren, I run a lot of the orchestras. I'm part of the orchestras team. I also work a lot with, well, anything really. I do a bit of choir, the Sing for Wellness choir, a lot with the young people, working the All Together Now project that Amy was talking about there. I'm really looking forward to that. That's really coming up in September, hopefully, with Jenny. Yeah, and I just think I love about Wren is I've learned so much through it, and just the encouraging you to learn and develop and giving you the space to put your own ideas into there, and yeah, and giving that time and space and support, which is lovely. And I just love hearing people play music and people making music, and that's the biggest part of music for me, is playing music with others and letting people play music and enjoy it. So I'm really lucky to be able to do that as a job. Right, I think I'm going to play you a tune now because I'm rambling on. As well as going around doing Cayley dances and calling, and I was also doing Morris dancing when I was a teenager. For the Taunton Dean Morris men, and which I loved, and I'm sort of falling out of the Morris team a little bit at the moment. I need to get back into dancing again. It's been a while. So I thought I'll share with you some lovely Morris tunes today, because it's sunny and it feels like I should be in my whites and jingling bells somewhere. So these are 2 Morris tunes. The first one's called The Blue-Eyed Stranger, which you probably all know, and then the second one is The Princess Royal. So 2 famous Morris tunes, and it's lovely to be able to play with Jenny as well. And I just got to remember how the tune goes. Cool. Thank you. Cheers. Great tunes.
Thank you to John and Jenny there. The YouTube audience can't see our Zoom audience, but everyone was dancing along to that, which was really, really nice to see. We do have a few questions for you that have come in, John, which I can put to you now. The first one from Peter is, do you write your own music?
Thanks, Peter. It's nice to see you again, Peter, as well. I'm not a huge composer. I have written tunes and stuff in the past. I much prefer taking a tune, an English tune or whatever, and changing it and messing about with it and trying to push the limits of this tune. I quite enjoy and arranging. I love arranging as well. Arranging for orchestras and choir. Yeah, that's what I get most fun out of. I sort of a bit panicking over writing music, but I'm trying to get better at believing in myself. Thanks.
Great. And then another question, which from John, which is that gathering were great fun and a lovely sound, and asking, will you get together again? So a gathering update is being asked.
Ah, lovely. Yes, so Gathering is the band that I play with, thanks John, with Nick Wyke and Matt Norman, Laura Swift and Cy Paul. And yes, we are going to get back together soon, hopefully. We've just released our second album, and we've got a few festivals this summer. Woo! And we might be at Sidmouth Folk Festival as well, which is we should be there at Sidmouth, so we'll see you there. And we're at Wickham and Purbeck Folk Festival and a few other things around the summer. So looking forward to that. So yeah, thank you. It'll be fun to play those guys again.
Great. So nice that we can all go and see some live music again. And I think everyone has probably really enjoyed having you and Jenny in the same room as well.
Great.
Being able to see and hear two instruments at the same time is something that we've been lacking, isn't it?
Definitely.
Great. Thank you very much for that, John. That was really, really good. So we've come to an end of our Meet the Team. I am going to do an outro now because it turned out that we weren't broadcasting on YouTube at the beginning. So they missed the intro. So I'm going to do it backwards. So just to say that the people that you've seen today from the Wren Music team are Rebecca, Jenny, Anna and John, who are musicians, and Paulo and Amy from the office. If you do want to meet the other half of the team, they were on last week's Meet the Team, which is also available on YouTube for you to catch up on. I'm Emily. I'm the Operations, Communications and Promotions Officer, and hopefully have guided this session quite well. And a few little technical hitches, but otherwise we've seamlessly transported between people. So thank you for everyone for joining and watching today, whether you're watching live or in the future. Wonders of technology. And also just to say that we have had our little rebrand. So sorry for everyone who's in our Zoom audience who can hear this twice, but hopefully you're really excited about our visual rebrand to have sit through this twice. So we have had a new logo put in after 20 years of having the same one. Wren Music's been around for 40 years now, and we intend to be around for even longer than that. So our new brand is out there for you to see on our social media pages, in our online community, and when we're out and about in person, you'll see it then as well. Just for interest, the main purple that you see is actually called Wren Purple now. We've officially taken that and decided to call it Wren Purple. So there you go. For any people who are really into their colours, if you want to imitate it, that's what you're doing. We took words from our community to build this brand. So it's all about creativity, community, joy, professionalism, and inclusivity. So hopefully you will really enjoy seeing it out and about in future when we get to see you again in person. So thank you very much for joining this afternoon. If you've got any more questions that didn't get answered today, or if you're watching on catch up, do leave them in comments and things, and we'll always come back to them. We're more than happy to talk to you. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute on the Zoom call because YouTube is just broadcasting me. So I thought it'd be really nice to end on a little bit of a round of applause and a goodbye from everyone, so at least you can hear it in your living room. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.